Cheat Code, Support Strategist, by myheadinthecoudsnotcomingdown. Read by Rat Overlord. Chapter 11, Welcome to UA. Summary, the entrance ceremony and introductions. The opening ceremonies were interesting, for a lack of a better word. Isuku didn't see Katsuki anywhere, which was honestly a good thing, but it was still kind of worrying. While Isuku wouldn't put it beyond him to just skip the assembly and hang out behind the dumpsters or something, he didn't think Katsuki would pull something like that on the first day. Oh well, if he made a poor first impression, that wasn't Isuku's problem. The general muttering of the students died down, and Isuku turned to the stage to see President Mike striding out onto the stage.
Hey, everybody! How's everybody's morning going?
To Isuku's surprise, President Mike's enthusiasm was met with a general non-response. He didn't know why. This was President Mike, the voice hero. He had his own radio show and everything. Midoriya? One of his classmates, the bald one, said softly, "Are you aware that you're mumbling again?" Isuku slammed his mouth shut and blushed. Sorry, I'll try to stop. Ugh, you're all idiots. The curly-haired girl leaned over May's lap and shoved a pencil in his face. Isuku took it hesitantly, not wanting to be rude. Thank you? But why? She rolled her eyes. Put it in your mouth. If you start talking, it'll fall out. Isuku's eyes widened. It was such a simple solution that Isuku didn't know why he hadn't ever thought of it before.
Thank you so much!
Whatever. She settled back into her seat and crossed her arms. Just chew your chew toy so the rest of us can hear the damn assembly. Isuku nodded frantically and bit down on the pencil as he turned back to the stage. President Mike, having failed spectacularly at getting a response from the crowd, had apparently just decided to move on to the next order of business.
Well, everybody, welcome to UA, the premier hero school in Japan. To all of our upperclassmen, welcome back and good luck with the next year of studies. To our brand new first years, congratulations! Not just anybody can walk through these halls, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication to sit where you're sitting. That being said, don't go getting too complacent here, little listeners. You've each got your own stars that you're reaching for, and you're gonna have to work extra hard, got it? So you're all gonna have to go beyond, plus ultra!
This time, at least, the students responded exactly how President Mike wanted, earning a wide smile as he skipped back to the line of chairs across the stage where all the other teachers and faculty were sitting, two of which were empty for some reason. Were there more teachers that weren't at the assembly, or did they set up extra chairs for some other reason? The next part of the assembly consisted of the faculty all introducing themselves briefly, and Isuku dropping the pencil in his mouth twice as he instinctively started to ramble about Ichiro's quirk. He ended up taking out his own notebook and writing down his observations instead, adding subtle observations that he was only able to notice from up close. He was at UA! He'd be learning from pros! It was so surreal. After each of the gathered teachers had gotten the chance to introduce themselves, President Mike stood up once again.
All right, listeners! Some of you may have noticed a couple empty chairs up here next to us awesome teachers. Well, this is because there are two teachers that you haven't met yet. You upperclassmen know who one of them is, but for the first years, you might be either lucky or unlucky enough to see our local cryptid in the halls. Aizawa Shota, pro hero name Eraserhead, is off hazing his own first-year class, so wish them luck. They're gonna need it.
Isuku's eyes widened. The underground hero? He couldn't be All Might as Isuku's favorite hero because All Might, but he was a close second. He fought practically quirkless and could take away other people's quirks at will. And he was a teacher here? What did President Mike mean by hazing? Was that where Katsuki was? Isuku felt a brief surge of jealous anger. Katsuki got to learn from Isuku's favorite teachers. He wouldn't even appreciate the nuances of Eraserhead's fighting style. Unbidden, an image of Katsuki getting his explosions erased as he was tangled in Eraserhead's capture weapon came to his mind, and Isuku snickered quietly. Okay, so maybe Katsuki learning from one of his favorite heroes wouldn't be all that bad.
But that still leaves us with one more teacher that you listeners haven't met yet.
President Mike continued.
He's a special new addition to our staff this year. Your first-year hero students will be in for a real treat because here he is, the #1 hero, the symbol of peace, and the newest member of our staff, All Might!
Isuku's jaw dropped, and he knew he wasn't the only one as the booming laugh echoed through the auditorium, and the #1 hero himself strode out from behind the curtain.
I am here to help mold the next generation of heroes!
The auditorium exploded in applause, and Isuku added to it wholeheartedly. He was going to be in the same building as All Might. This must be why he was in town. But how was he going to teach classes if he only had 3 hours in his hero form? Did he still have 3 hours, or had saving Kachan from the sludge villain cut down on that time? What were the repercussions of him going over his limit? There was a clear clatter as the pencil dropped onto his lap again. Isuku hurriedly put it back in his mouth so he wouldn't mutter. Thankfully, no one could have heard him over the applause, but it would still be better to think about that when he was alone. But maybe he could come up with some way to counteract, or even just minimize the effects of his injury. Or maybe May could come up with some sort of illusion tech that he wouldn't have to use all of his hero time to teach. But that would involve telling her about All Might's other form, and he couldn't betray the hero's trust like that. Later. He could think about all of that later. For now, though, All Might had taken a seat in one of the empty chairs that was almost ridiculously too small for him, and Netsu was climbing up the set of steps up to the side of the podium. Hello, students. Am I a mouse, a dog, a bear? What's important is that I'm the principal. UA has a spectacular legacy, and Netsu began to talk about the history of the school, and Isuku was on the edge of his seat as he listened. For the first 10 minutes. May had lost interest after 3 and began to sketch out invention ideas again. Isuku really tried to pay attention. This man was going to be his teacher. He couldn't just tune him out. His classmates seemed just as bored as he was, and eventually Isuku decided that he could probably just apologize if he needed to, and turned to fleshing out his analyses of the staff. Occasionally, May would poke his arm and point out a particular diagram, asking an unspoken question that he would think for a moment before writing something beside her drawing. It was like that for another 15 minutes before Netsu finally stopped talking. But I'm getting carried away. Netsu clapped his paws together, waking up a few of the students that had fallen asleep during the speech. You all have very bright futures ahead of you, and we are so excited to help to cultivate that light. So, as principal of UA, congratulations and welcome to UA High School. There was a hesitant round of applause that got louder as Netsu descended the steps, and the teachers all left the stage to go retrieve their classes. Within a few minutes, Power Loader was leading them back to the classroom. As they were walking back, the kid in their class with the shark quirk placed his hands on Isuku's shoulder and patted it consolingly.
I'm sorry, Midoriya. I don't know how you're going to survive being Netsu's personal student if he's really that long-winded all the time.
He wasn't that way during the entrance exam, Isuku tried. But maybe that was just because he didn't want to distract me while I was hacking UA. He ended up running into the girl walking in front of him as his classmates stopped walking in shock.
You hacked UA during the entrance exam? What the fuck?
I didn't get very far, Isuku defended, waving his hand in front of him nervously. I think they just wanted to see how I approached unsolvable problems, that's it.
Yeah, May said. And I'm sure it didn't hurt that you already got a head start before the exam even started.
Isuku turned his head to her in betrayal.
May!
Their classmates kept their distance from the two for the rest of the way back to the lab. When they got there, everyone sat down at their tables, and Isuku went back to his room, noticing for the first time that there was a small school desk that had been placed outside the door, probably for when their class had a lecture instead of lab time. Before he could decide if he was supposed to go into his room or sit at the desk, though, Power Loader cleared his throat to get their attention.
We have about 20 minutes until class officially starts, he said. So why don't you each introduce yourself? I know that the support course has a lot more individual work than the business course or the hero course, but it will still be helpful to get to know your classmates. So who wants to go first?
The kid with the shark quirk shrugged and stood up.
What you want to know?
Ugh, just say your name and quirk, dumbass, the curly-haired girl griped. Isuku felt his stomach sink. Yeah, he knew it was coming, but it still would have been nice if he didn't have to reveal his quirklessness right off the bat. Oh well, they already thought he was creepy, now they'd just pity him mixed in.
Also include why you chose support,
Powerloader added.
It'll be helpful to know each other's motivations. Alright,
the kid with the sharp quirk shrugged.
I'm Rio Hansel. My quirk, Great White, and I want to make waterproof tech. My quirk lets me do anything a shark can do, which means I can breathe underwater, so I spent a lot of time swimming as a kid, and I would have totally spent weeks at a time in the ocean, but my phone and video games wouldn't work, so I'm gonna fix that.
Isugu had never realized that would be an inconvenience to people with amphibious quirks, but he supposed it made sense. Most technology was made and used by people in the air, and even most waterproof technology had a limit of either time or depth. Hanso would definitely have a niche as an inventor if he could figure out how to move past those limitations. The class's eyes turned to the bald kid with pointed ears who was sitting next to Hanso.
Oh, I'm next. I'm Shin Shiguro, and my quirk is called Goblin. I instinctively know the location of any object I ever touched. The accuracy goes down with time, though, so if I haven't touched something for 10 years, I'd be able to tell you the city it's in, but not anything more specific than that. I just like building things.
He sat down almost before he'd even finished speaking, and the class turned to the next student, which was the girl with the curly hair. I'm Akane Kohaku, and this mess, the girl gestured to her curls, which rattled slightly as they caught the light, is my quirk. It's called copper wire, and it's a total pain to cut. Yes, it conducts electricity. Yes, I use it in my inventions. No, you can't touch it. Got it? The introductions continued like that for the rest of the class until it got to Mei.
Hi, I'm Mei Hatsume, future CEO of Hatsume Industries. My quirk is Zoom, and it lets me see up to 5 kilometers away. My babies are gonna change the world!
Isugu chuckled quietly as he noticed their classmates instinctively lean back from Mei's enthusiasm. He was finally getting used to it himself, but it was still funny to see how other people reacted to her. Isugu noticed that the class was looking at him, and he froze as he realized what was next. In fact, he was the last student to introduce himself. Hesitantly, he stood up. I'm Isuku Midoriya. I like analyzing heroes and quirks, so I want to be a support analyst and help heroes work smarter and better. Isuku glanced at the clock. Class should be ending any second now. He could do this. Just bite the bullet. I'm quirkless. The bell rang.